She married a humble man in a wheelchair. Everyone laughed until his amazing secret was discovered. In the quaint little Midwest town of Maplewood, where dreams were often neatly tied with a bow and tucked inside the confines of white picket fences, Sarah Collins took a leap that would echo through the town's gossip mill. She married Jake, a humble man in a wheelchair. The whispers were like a storm brewing, but Sarah's love for Jake blazed brighter than any judgmental glance. Jake's smile could light up the darkest of days. It was genuine, as warm as his heart. Sarah, a spirited 26-year-old with eyes full of hope, had always dreamed of finding true love. While others chased wealth and status, her heart fiercely yearned for something deeper. Yet the moment she said, "I do," the cackles began. Friends and family, the very fabric of her upbringing, frowned and whispered. Why would she marry him? They'd say. Endless murmurs darted through the air like bees in spring, swelling with scrutiny. Jake faced each day with unwavering resilience. He had served his country bravely and lost his mobility for it, a sacrifice disguised by a softly spoken demeanor that many misread as weakness. To Sarah, he was a hero, a man of substance. With every shared laugh, every whispered secret, her conviction that love trumps all grew. But the weight of disapproval tallied against them, casting a shadow she couldn't ignore. It was the family gathering that tore the fragile tether binding them together. An accidental eavesdrop revealed a shocking truth: Jake had a trust fund from a long-lost relative, an inheritance unknown to Sarah. Suddenly, the foundation of their love felt precarious, like an old bridge ready to crumble. Was it truly love? Or was it the allure of wealth that pulled her into his arms? Doubt crept in, a serpent slithering through her heart. When Sarah confronted Jake, the hurt in his eyes pierced her soul. "Do you think I ever wanted this to be about money?" he asked, his voice thick with pain. Sarah felt her heart shatter, emotions crashing over her like a tidal wave. Tears pricked her eyes. She stood amidst the chaos of the dinner, family members casting glances like arrows. What if it was all a facade? She whispered, feeling more lost than ever. Jake retreated, harboring his own heartache while the town buzzed with rumors, quietly dismissing him as the lucky vet. They didn't know his story, didn't grasp the struggles he overcame daily. As the annual fair approached, anticipation stirred in the air, an event full of laughter and memories. Yet for Sarah, it felt like a countdown. Just when it seemed their love story was unraveling, fate twisted the plot. As the crowd gathered, Sarah learned of Jake's secret dedication. He was to receive an award for his selfless community service. The cheers that erupted could touch the sky, and beneath them, Sarah's uncertainty churned. Was she truly prepared to stand beside him, to face the world? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As Jake stepped onto the stage, his smile unwavering, Sarah's heartbeat quickened. The cheers surrounded him, resonating with every fiber of her being. Would she let her love for him shine through despite the judgments, or would the weight of societal expectations pull them apart forever? Her heart ached. One moment could change everything. The moment Jake took that stage, Sarah felt the world around her blur. The murmurs from the crowd slowly faded into a dull hum, replaced by the pounding of her heart. She could see him clearly now, dressed in his best shirt, the one she had helped him pick out. His hands rested on the arms of his wheelchair, fingers twitching slightly, betraying nerves that he fought to mask. "Thank you," Jake's voice rang out, steady and strong. The crowd erupted into applause, but Sarah struggled to meet their enthusiasm. Every cheer felt like a reminder of her doubt, a reminder of the conversations that had cast shadows on her heart. As he began to speak, Jake shared tales of his time serving the country, of the comrades he loved and lost, and then of the community that rallied around him when he needed it most. With each story, memories flooded back to Sarah, the way he lit up when talking about the people they helped together, how his laughter echoed in their little house when she'd recount the day's simple joys, his words drew them in, weaving a tapestry of hope and resilience that held the audience captive. But as she watched him, pride collided with fear. What if they saw him differently now? What if she couldn't bear the weight of the truth? Everyone needs a chance to be heard, to be loved. Jake's voice softened, revealing sincerity that melted Sarah's tension. I am proof that even in the darkest of times, there is a light. The room stirred as whispers morphed into hopeful chatter. Sarah bit her lip, feeling both terror and exhilaration. Each clap was a challenge to her own feelings. Could love truly endure scrutiny? When Jake finished, the applause thundered around them, lifting him momentarily above the doubts that seemed to shackle Sarah's heart. His gaze scanned the crowd until it found her, and in that instant, she felt their bond, unbreakable amidst the chaos. But as Jake was presented with the award, the whispers from earlier returned, piercing through applause. Folks had begun to connect the dots, speculating about why he had been honored. An inheritance. Public recognition. She could sense it in the air, a shift where admiration battled jealousy. They were losing him to their questions, to assumptions that threatened to frame their love story as one of convenience. Are you proud of me? Jake's eyes sparkled as he wheeled closer to her after the ceremony ended. More than I can put into words, she replied, taking his hands in her own. But even as she smiled, the weight of the doubts loomed large in her mind. Just then, the mayor approached, a smile plastered on his face as he extended his hand toward Jake. I want you to speak at the town hall next week. It's time everyone hears about what you've done. Those words sent a chill through Sarah. How would the town react when faced with the truths about Jake? Despite his courage, could it quell their need to pit against their understanding of worth? They stood surrounded by shimmering lights and beaming faces, yet Sarah felt like a ship caught in a storm. There was an unfurling sense of excitement, but also a deep-seated fear. Will you stand by me? Jake asked, a question laced with vulnerability that cut deeper than any accusation. Standing there, holding his hands, Sarah's resolve wavered. How could she answer when she wasn't sure herself? Would their love withstand the scrutiny, or was this just another chapter in a story determined by public perception? As she gazed at his hopeful smile, the stakes had never felt higher. What awaited them at the town hall? Would their truth finally shine, or would darkness find a way to seep back in? The next week arrived faster than Sarah had anticipated. The air buzzed with anticipation and fear as she and Jake approached the town hall. The building loomed larger than life, its brick facade echoing the complexity of emotions racing through her. Each step they took felt heavier, as if she were dragging a weight tied to her heart. Jake rolled ahead, his confidence steadying her trembling spirit. He had spent the week preparing, seeking comfort in the support of their close friends. But with each rehearsal, Sarah's worry doubled in intensity. Would he be met with applause or skepticism? Would they see the man she loved or the vessel their misconceptions fueled? Inside, the hall was packed, familiar faces blending with strangers. The chatter faded into a tense silence as the mayor took the stage, his welcoming smile drawing everyone's attention. Sarah felt restless, her stomach churning like a stormy sea. Next to her, Jake's hand remained steady in hers, and she grasped it tighter. Today, we honor a true hero, the mayor declared, and the crowd erupted into cheers. A man who has inspired us with his resilience and courage. The words washed over Sarah, stirring both pride and fear within her. As Jake was introduced, she gathered her breath. Every gaze in the room seemed to burn through her, inspecting, questioning. Their hero was not simply a figure of bravery, he was her Jake. The man who knew her heart, who had witnessed her darkest days. Who deserved love without constraint. Jake wheeled himself onto the stage, his hands resting confidently on the armrests. As he faced the crowd, Sarah noticed a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. She wanted to shout for him, to cheer louder than anyone else. He was more than what they may perceive. Thank you for this honor, Jake began, voice strong despite the tremor of nerves. He spoke of service, of loss, and of the importance of community. But he also spoke of love, the kind that has lifted him through the darkest times. As he shared the stories of those he lost, the weight of their shared grief spilled into the room. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes, each drop a mix of love and concern. Slowly, she could see the audience begin to shift, softening expressions replacing judgments, reminded that they were all human at their core. Just then, as he began to speak about their own journey, the whispers resumed, a few voices clipped with disbelief, echoing through the hall. Why her? Is he all there? Her heart sank. They were pulling him back into the shadows, teasing apart their bond with quick questions and fleeting glances. Love isn't measured by appearances, Jake stated, firm and unwavering. It's about the connection that defies expectation. The room held its breath, uncertainty painted across 100 faces. Did he sense the room shifting? Did he recognize the voices of doubt lingering just beyond the warmth of his words? Sarah could feel her own resolve crumbling against the walls of truth and deception. She dared to voice her worry. Jake, she whispered, uncertainty creeping into her words, but he caught her gaze, fighting a smile, grounding her. That look, the one that reminded her they were a team. They could face anything together. As the speech wrapped up, applause erupted again. Yet something about this round felt different. Still, doubt gripped her heart. She leaned into him and whispered, what if they never see us for who we are? Jake turned to her, eyes shining with determination. Then we'll show them. We'll take this one step at a time. They stepped off the stage, and as they descended into the warmth of familiar faces, Sarah felt a mix of pride and uncertainty. Could they truly pave a path through the judgment and emerge unscathed, holding tightly to their love? In that moment, as whispers swirled behind them, a figure caught her eye, one of their closest friends, looking especially troubled. Was there more brewing in their small town than just curiosity? A sharp inkling pricked at her heart at the thought. What looming shadows awaited them beyond the applause? Would they have the strength to face whatever unfolded next? As they stepped off the stage, Sarah's hand still held firmly in Jake's. The adrenaline coursing through her began to fade. She searched the crowd, scanning for the familiar faces of friends and family who had come to support them. The applause enveloped them, a soft blanket of warmth against the chill of uncertainty, but the mood around them felt different. Conversations buzzed with tension, and she could catch snippets of hushed tones seeping through the applause. Did you see that? One voice whispered. She could do so much better, another muttered, just loud enough for her ears to pick up. Jake's face, which had shone with confidence just moments before, dimmed slightly as he caught the tail end of a cruel remark. Sarah squeezed his hand tighter, a wave of protectiveness crashing over her. She could feel the disappointment rolling off him, could see the way his shoulders sagged as if a weight suddenly pressed down on him. Let us go talk to James and Lily, she suggested, steering them toward their friends instead of lingering in the crowd. They needed the comfort of those who truly understood them, who celebrated their love without the veils of judgment. As they approached, James' face lit up, his grin wide. Jake! That was incredible! He exclaimed, pulling him into a welcoming embrace. Sarah felt the warmth of the moment shake off some of her unease. Lily, with her big, sparkling eyes, leaned in to give Sarah a quick hug. You two were amazing. I can't believe what he just shared, so powerful. For a brief moment, the love and enthusiasm from their friends washed over Sarah like sunlight breaking through clouds. But the shadows still lingered at the edge of her mind, and as she glanced back at the crowd, she caught sight of the troubled figure again. It was Melissa, hovering near the back, her expression clouded with worry. Hey, do you need anything? Jake asked, snapping Sarah back to the present. You seem a little distant. She hesitated, contemplating whether to voice her fears. She could choose to shield him from her inner turmoil. But they were a team, a unit forged through shared challenges and triumphs. I'm okay, she said finally, although her tone betrayed uncertainty. Just thinking about what they'll say next. Don't. All that matters is what we think, right? Jake's voice steadied her. Besides, it can only get better from here. But beneath his warm smile, she sensed the hidden pain of doubt. The whispers were only the beginning. As they finished conversing with their friends, Sarah caught sight of a commotion at the entrance of the town hall. Her heart quickened. A group of people had gathered, expressions furtive and pointed. Gossipy little circles formed, and Sarah felt the prickle of apprehension swim through her. Was this about Jake? Did they have more to say? Before she could voice her concern, an old acquaintance of hers, Claire, pushed through the crowd, her face taut with urgency. "Sarah! Can I talk to you for a second?" It was the way she said it, loaded, and laced with insistence, that made Sarah's stomach flip. Sure," she replied cautiously, casting another glance at Jake, who offered a nod of encouragement. "What is going on?" Sarah asked, her heart pounding in anticipation. "It's about Jake," Claire began, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There's something, people are saying something big. You might need to hear it." Every instinct told Sarah to pull Jake closer, to shield him from the inevitable storm brewing. But Claire had an urgency in her tone. They needed to know what was being said. In that moment, Sarah realized that their journey was far from over. The applause may have faded, but the echoes of doubt were only just beginning. What if the shadows lurking in the corners of their town had formed a storm, ready to break upon them? What now? She thought, fear tingling in her fingertips. The truth might just unravel everything they had fought for. Sarah swallowed hard, her heart racing. Claire's brow was furrowed, urgency emanating from her as she glanced over her shoulder, as if expecting someone to overhear. "You should really sit down for this. It's not good. Sit down." Sarah's voice trembled, a cacophony of worry and disbelief swirling inside her. "What do you mean?" They're saying Jake isn't who he says he is," Claire rushed out, each word like shards of glass cutting through the warmth of the moment they just shared with James and Lily. "What?" Sarah felt her world tilt dangerously on its axis. "What do you mean, not who he says he is?" Claire hesitated, glancing back at the growing crowd, then leaning closer. "There's talk that he's keeping something from you. People are whispering about his past, saying he didn't grow up here, that he's not from the kind of family you think." Glimmers of anxiety pricked at Sarah's chest, an unwelcome sensation that felt all too familiar. "Wait, are you serious? They're spreading rumors?" "It's more complicated than that," Claire said softly. "Someone saw him with a woman at a coffee shop a few weeks ago. They think he's hiding something, maybe even lying to you." Each word fell like a stone in the pit of Sarah's stomach. She could feel the edges of her resolve fraying. Could this possibly be true? Jake had never hidden anything from her, or had he? "No," she said, shaking her head. "That doesn't make sense. He has always been so open with me." Claire sighed, frustration in her eyes. "I know. I just thought you should know. People are cruel. And whatever the truth is, it'll come out eventually. You deserve to hear it from him first." "Why now, Claire? Why not before?" Sarah shot back, her voice surging with emotion. The noise around them drifted further away, fading into a dull hum. Her mind was racing. "I don't know," Claire said, clearly hurt. "Maybe they thought he was an easy target." You know how this town is feeling. Anger coiled tightly within her. Sarah wrestled with the rising tide of insecurities washing over her. She needed to confront this before it spread like wildfire. "Okay, thanks," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll talk to him." The resolve settled over her like a heavy blanket. Stepping away from Claire, she drifted back towards Jake, who was chatting with James and Lily. His smile felt like a lighthouse in a storm, but instability loomed like an ominous cloud. He glanced up, warmth flashing in his eyes. "Hey. What did Claire want? Just girl talk?" Nothing important. The words felt thin and frail as they left her mouth. She couldn't bring herself to reveal the dark uncertainty looming over them. As they embraced, Sarah inhaled, trying to steady herself. But the chill of doubt prickled at the base of her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that a revelation was lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed. In that moment, when everything seemed so seemingly perfect, an unsettling question loomed in her mind. What if Jake's truth shattered everything? Just then, Sarah caught a flicker of movement out of the corner of her eye. A figure emerged from the crowd. It was Melissa, her expression unreadable, but her eyes sharp and penetrating. Sarah felt a chill race through her veins as Melissa locked eyes with Jake, her lips curling into a knowing smile. In that brief exchange, Sarah felt the world shift again. Could Melissa know more than she was letting on? Jake's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "I'll talk to you later," she mumbled, feeling the cold grip of uncertainty tightening around her heart. As she walked away, a storm of questions raged within her. What did Melissa know? And as she closed her eyes for a brief moment, she felt the creeping shadow of fear. Was this the start of something that would change everything? With every step, Sarah understood that they were teetering on the edge of a chasm, and she had no idea just how deep it went. Sarah's feet barely touched the ground as she moved through the crowd, her heart pounding against her ribcage. The laughter and chatter around her turned into a distant echo, drowned by her racing thoughts. She needed answers, clarity, and the burning question that refused to leave her mind: who was Jake really? Her pulse quickened as she considered confronting him here, in this chaos of celebration, amidst friends and laughter. But what if she brought this turmoil into their happy moment? Can you shatter light with dark shadows? She hesitated, the vibrant colors of the evening dimming beneath the weight of her concerns. Navigating through the throng, she spotted Jake standing by the refreshments table. He leaned casually against it, his laughter ringing out like music, effortlessly charming everyone around him. It twisted something deep inside her, a mix of longing and the sharp pang of doubt. Just then, Melissa approached them, weaving through the crowd, her smile plastered on her face like an actress in a play. Sarah tensed, instinctively knowing this wasn't just another friendly exchange. Their eyes locked, and there was something in Melissa's gaze that made Sarah's stomach drop. It felt as if Melissa held the last puzzle piece to a larger picture, one that was still being painted. "Hey, Sarah!" Jake called out, breaking her trance. "Come join us." He waved her closer, joy radiating from him like sunlight. But clouds were gathering in Sarah's heart, blotting out the radiant warmth. Swallowing hard, she stepped forward, willing herself to smile. "Hey, Jake. Can we talk later?" "Of course, babe," he answered, his expression shifting momentarily, as if he sensed the gravity in her voice. But before he could ask what was wrong, Melissa interjected with a sweet, syrupy tone, "You two have such a strong connection. It's beautiful to see." There was a flicker of something behind her eyes, a glimmer of mischief. "Thanks. I guess," Sarah replied, her voice wavering. "Don't keep him too secluded, Sarah." Melissa winked, raising her glass. "He is the star of the evening." Laughter flowed from the scattered audience, underscoring Melissa's light-hearted jibe, but something darker lingered beneath it. As Sarah forced a smile, she felt the world constrict around her. The whispers, the rumors, it was all swelling like a tide, washing toward her, ready to pull her under. When Melissa spoke again, her voice was a soft lilt. "You really don't want to imagine how quickly things can change." Was she warning her? Or teasing her? Sarah couldn't tell. "Melissa, this isn't your place to meddle," Jake chimed in, annoyance flickering in his tone. "Just looking out for our girl," Melissa said, but the challenge in her eyes told another story. "I'll be right back," Sarah said suddenly, adrenaline surging through her, and left both of them behind, seeking refuge at the edge of the garden. The cool air brushed her face, clearing her mind just a fraction. She paced, gripping the fabric of her dress, battling the anger and confusion swirling inside her, but before she could gather her thoughts and resolve, a silhouette approached. It was Claire, her expression a mix of worry and empathy. "Sarah, I'm so sorry for what I said earlier. I wish I hadn't put that doubt in your mind. You need to know the truth, whatever that may be." The sincerity in Claire's eyes pierced through Sarah's anger. "What if I can't bear the truth?" she whispered, her voice a fragile thread. "I don't think you have a choice," Claire began, but just then, Sarah's vision blurred, fixing on a shadow behind her friend. Jake stood there, the weight of the world on his shoulders, an unreadable expression on his face. "Sarah," he said slowly, breaking the silence like glass shattering, "can we talk now?" She felt her breath catch in her throat. The storm inside her grew louder as she faced him, but suddenly, amidst the fear of the unknown, one question blazed bright and clear: was she ready to hear what his truth might unravel? And at that moment, the chasm between them felt wider than ever. The crowd buzzed behind them, but in that moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the entire universe. Sarah's stomach knotted, her heart racing with anticipation, fear, and an unexpected thrill. She could see the concern etched in Jake's features, a stark contrast to the carefree persona he had presented just moments ago. "Now," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is this really the best time?" Jake stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Yes, it is. I can't let you walk away, not now." His eyes searched hers, trying to find a bridge to cross the widening gap between them. "Then tell me," she urged, clenching her fists to steady herself. "What is it you're hiding?" He hesitated, glancing back toward the laughter and light radiating from the party. "I need you to understand it's complicated. I wanted to share this with you, but I didn't know how." "Complicated often means messy," she shot back, the frustration spilling out before she could contain it. "Is it worth it? Because right now, all I see are secrets." "I never meant for you to find out like this," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You deserve better than to hear rumors or half-truths." Just like that, the walls Sarah had built around her heart began to crack. The pang of disbelief in his tone tugged at something deeper inside her. If he truly cared, why was he holding back? "Jake, please. If you want any chance at all here, you need to lay everything on the table." She stepped back, forcing a breath through her tightly clenched chest. "All right." He took a moment, gathering his resolve. "I've been keeping a part of my life hidden, not just from you, but from everyone. It's something I've fought against for so long." "What are you saying?" The shadows creeping across her heart made it difficult to understand if she was brave enough to confront an unknown truth. "I've had issues," he finally admitted, an almost imperceptible shiver running through his voice. "Health problems. But it's more than that. I'm not the person you think I am. The last thing I wanted was for you to see me differently." "Different how?" As the words left her lips, dread washed over her like a cold wave, each word cracking against her fragile hope. I'm living with something that could change how you see me forever. I'm disabled, Sarah." The confession hung between them, heavy and sharp. For a moment, silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the distant chatter of the party, but the laughter felt so far away. Sarah's mind reeled, struggling to process what he just revealed. "You're in a wheelchair." Jake looked down, shame overtaking his features. "Not in a wheelchair, but I have been dealing with the consequences of an accident. It's been a hard road, and admitting the truth weighs more than even the hardest battles." The world spun as Sarah's heart raced. All the pieces she had been missing suddenly clicked into place. The times he seemed distant, the issues he avoided, everything made a cruel sort of sense now. But deeper than that, she swept away her initial shock, searching for the threads of her emotions. "Why didn't you tell me? I would have understood." "I didn't want you to pity me," he replied, his eyes now glistening with vulnerability. "I wanted you to see me for who I am, not through the lens of my struggles." A whirlwind of confusion and empathy flooded her senses. She understood now, his silence wasn't weakness, it was a battle for his own identity. With every nerve screaming at her, she stepped closer, closing the physical gap left by her hesitations. "Jake," she implored, "you're more than just your struggles to me." Yet just as the truth began to set down roots between them, Melissa's laugh erupted from the near distance, slicing through the tension. The sense of urgency within Sarah renewed. Would she ever truly break past his walls, and was she now strong enough to take on the aftermath of his unfiltered truth? As the wind whipped around them, carrying the sounds of celebration, she searched his expression. The depth of his secrets loomed before her like a dark forest inviting her to step deeper. Would she brave that journey, even if it could lead to the sharp edges of reality? "Can we face this together?" she asked, pouring every ounce of courage into her voice, but before Jake could respond, they heard a commotion from the direction of the party, a sudden shift that felt like an unwelcome guest crashing in on their moment. The festivity turned ominous, and uncertainty loomed again, threatening to take away the small spark they'd begun to kindle. "Sarah, I think we need to go back," Jake began, concern flooding his gaze. "What's happening?" she asked, trepidation pricking her skin. And as they turned towards the sound, the pulse of the gathering seemed to fold in on itself, like a storm ready to unleash. Unbeknownst to both of them, an event was unfolding that would shatter the fragile calm before dawn and expose the truths they weren't ready to face. Would they unravel together, or would it tear them apart? The laughter and festive music morphed into anxious whispers, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. Jake's grip on her hand tightened as they turned toward the growing chaos at the party. Her heart thundered in her chest, caught between the daunting reality of Jake's revelation and the unknown that loomed ahead. "Do you hear that?" he asked, his voice tinged with urgency. It felt like a warning. "Yeah, I do," Sarah said, her throat dry. She tried to peer through the crowd, but it was a sea of faces, confusion etched on each one. Suddenly, a figure burst through the throng, bumping into Sarah and Jake. It was Nick, one of the party's hosts, his face drained of color. "Something's wrong. There's been an accident. We need to clear the area," he shouted, panic radiating from him as he scanned the crowd like a deer caught in headlights. "What kind of accident?" Sarah pressed, dread pooling heavy in her stomach, but Nick shook his head, breathless. "I don't know, but someone fell over by the patio. People are saying it looks serious. We need to get everyone away from the edge." Jake's expression darkened, the earlier light extinguished. "We should help," he said, ready to spring into action. Before Sarah could respond, he led her toward the mass of frantic faces. The energy shifted palpably as they moved through the crowd, past laughter turned to muted gasps. Each step felt heavy, as if they were walking through thick fog. Sarah glanced back at Jake. Instead of breaking down, he seemed to take on an almost protective aura fueled by a mixture of fear and adrenaline. They arrived at the patio, which was teeming with people craning their necks. Amid the whispers floated the words hospital and emergency. Sarah shoved her way through, gripping Jake's hand tightly. She was terrified, yet the way he held her made her feel anchored. As they reached the edge, her stomach dropped at the sight before her. A girl lay sprawled on the ground, a few people hovering over her, their expressions grim. Melissa was among them, looking pale and shaken. "What happened?" Sarah's voice broke through the murmurs. "She tripped over the step and fell," Melissa explained, her own hands trembling. "She hit her head. They're calling for an ambulance." The swirling chaos of emotions became a whirlwind inside Sarah. She instinctively looked at Jake, who uncharacteristically wore a somber expression. "This is why I didn't want to be here," he murmured. "Jake, Sarah, just let me help," he interrupted, gently squeezing her hand before stepping closer to the girl. He crouched down, his focus laser-sharp, every bit of him serious. The weight of fear closed in on Sarah. While she trusted his instincts, dread fear of something going wrong rushed through her. In that moment, she realized she had wanted to confront their emerging relationship, but now, with the unexpected chaos, they were back to facing a darker reality. The tumult of emotions that had just started to flow between them was now riddled with this unpredictable moment. As paramedics arrived, everyone stepped back, the crowd expanding with uncertainty. Sarah's heart ached as she watched Jake lean down even closer, talking softly to the unconscious girl and the shaky friend surrounding her. It was more than just compassion. Jake's vulnerability, his battle with his own identity, melded into something greater. Why do people always suffer like this? Sarah thought, a wave of helplessness washing over her. Just as she was about to step forward, she heard shouting from behind, and the crowd parted to reveal a group of angry voices. They were heated, animated, and all too familiar. "Let her be. This is ridiculous," a voice shouted. As Sarah turned, her stomach dropped again. It was Emily, her old high school rival, and she was accompanied by a couple of their other classmates. "What are they doing here?" Sarah whispered, dread creeping back in. "Just stay close," Jake said, not taking his eyes off the scene ahead. But Emily's voice cut through the air again. "You have no idea what you're doing. Look at this mess, it's pathetic." A flash of anger ignited within Sarah, but she couldn't lose focus. The ambulance had arrived, and sirens wailed in the distance. Would this moment push them apart, or could they unite against the noise around them? Then the girl stirred, a gasp escaping. As Sarah's eyes widened in hope, she glanced over at Jake. What were they facing now, amidst this turmoil? Could they come out stronger on the other side, or would these chilling moments tear them even further apart? The paramedics moved with purpose, their calm demeanor cutting through the fear-tinged air. The girl on the ground had started to show signs of life, but there was still worry painted across everyone's faces. Jake remained beside her, his knuckles white where he gripped the ground, as if grounding himself through the chaos. Sarah felt a knot tighten in her chest. She wanted to reach out to Jake, to let him know he wasn't alone in this. But Emily's voice, sharp and loud, seemed to slice right through the moment. "Step back. You're not helping." Emily barked at Jake and the others, the venom in her tone sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. "Shut up, Emily." Sarah shot back, anger flaming at the thought of Emily undermining Jake's instinct to help, to care. "Ah, look at you two, the unlikely heroes," Emily retorted with a laugh, her followers chiming in with snickers that felt far too loud for the urgency of the situation. Jake turned, momentarily distracted by the mockery. It was a fleeting moment, but it felt as if a weight shifted in the air. Sarah watched as his shoulders sank slightly. In that instant, she wanted to protect him. She pushed through the crowd, her heart racing, fueled by the protective surge of emotion. "Stop it. Can't you see he is trying to help?" Sarah's voice rang out, louder this time, almost desperate. The laughter quieted, and for a moment, even Emily seemed taken aback. Jake looked at her, surprise flickering in his eyes. "You don't have to defend me, Sarah," he murmured, but she saw the way his chin lifted just slightly. "Maybe not, but I want to," she insisted, forcing the crowd into her periphery. She held on tightly to the clarity of her feelings in the midst of fear and confusion. The paramedics were kneeling beside the girl now, assessing her condition. The situation was serious, intertwining with their reality as spectators. Sarah glanced back at Jake, whose expression reflected determination mixed with concern. She experienced a rush of gratitude for him, a bond forged in chaos. "Just stay strong, okay?" she whispered under her breath, unsure if he could hear. As the paramedics began to stabilize the girl, Jake resumed his gentle encouragement, whispering words of reassurance. Each word felt like a lifeline thrown out into the tumult around them. Sarah could see that he was pouring his spirit into that girl. It was profound and beautiful, but it also scared her. What if he got too close and it hurt him too much? Suddenly, the girl opened her eyes wide, blinking slowly as if trying to process where she was. The crowd's energy shifted, hope intertwined with fear. "Can you hear me?" one of the paramedics asked gently, voice calm amidst the tempest. I think so," the girl replied, her voice shaky. As she focused her gaze, it fell on Jake, and their eyes locked for a heartbeat. The weight of the moment felt monumental. Sarah's heart raced, sensing an invisible thread forming between them, a connection wrought from care, pain, and kindness. Emily, sensing the shift, whispered to her friends. "What a show! He is still a nobody." Something snapped inside Sarah. "You don't know what a person is made of, Emily. It's not about titles or being somebody. It's about or who we are in tough moments." In that moment, Jake looked over at her, a soft smile breaking through the tension, as if he had been waiting for anyone to stand up for him, not just as a protector of the girl but as someone who had always been there despite the odds stacked against him. They shared a fleeting moment of connection, deepening her resolve, but before they could fully process the meaning behind it all, the sirens wailed again, louder this time, jolting them back into reality. The ambulance was ready, but would they really get the help they needed? As the paramedics lifted the girl onto a stretcher, murmurs erupted from the crowd, a mix of relief and trepidation. Emily rolled her eyes. "You know this changes nothing, right? You'll still be Jake from the wrong side of town." "Shut up, Emily," Sarah said once again, her voice resolute, though uncertainty-laced. Her words. But as the ambulance doors slammed shut, and the reality of the situation settled in, the question remained: was this just the beginning of a deeper connection or merely a distraction from their own insecurities? With the sirens fading into the distance, Sarah turned to face Jake. What would they do next in this labyrinth of emotion, and would they find a way to make sense of everything amidst the noise of their past? As the sirens faded, Jake breathed deeply, his expression shifting from concern to determination. The crowd began to disperse, leaving Sarah and Jake on the edge of everything they had just faced. Moments ago, they had been swept by a tide of unease, but as Jake steadied himself, Sarah could feel a new surge of hope rising between them. "Jake," she said, her voice steadying, "I'm so sorry about earlier. I should have trusted you." She reached out, instinctively placing her hand on his arm, wanting to bridge the emotional gap the chaos had briefly exposed. He met her gaze, and she could see a flicker of understanding. They were on the same page, both longing for truth amidst the noise. "I didn't intend for any of this to happen. I just wanted to help," Jake replied, his voice quieter now, as if reflecting on the weight they had both just carried. It was true, he had always sought to help those around him, even if his struggles often dimmed his light in a world so quick to dismiss him. "Sometimes it feels like the world is against us," Sarah said, her thoughts swirling with memories of the doubts planted in her mind. "But I'm not going to let them get to us anymore. I want you to know, you matter to me more than those whispers." He paused, eyes softening at her words, the barriers they both had faced slowly crumbling in the calm that followed the chaos. "You mean that?" he asked, vulnerable yet hopeful, the shadows of his past momentarily lifting. More than anything, Sarah breathed out, the sincerity of her confession anchoring their connection in a shared resolve. "Can we face this together? I want to understand everything you've been through, the whole truth." Jake let out a shaky breath, the weight of her acceptance soothing the cracks in his heart. "I was scared to share my past, scared you'd see me differently." "Jake, I'm not going anywhere," she promised, her voice fierce but tender. It was as though a fresh breeze had blown through the darkness, filling the gaps where uncertainty had settled. The warmth of acceptance mingled with a sense of strength. They were two souls willing to uncover the layers of their lives, laying claim to their shared journey. As they moved from the patio, side by side, a sense of comfort enveloped them. The whispers may not disappear, but they would no longer define who they were. The uncomfortable chuckles and mocking remarks from people like Emily faded into the background, replaced by the firm hand of friendship surrounding them, friends willing to look beyond mere perception and into the essence of what truly mattered. Returning to the party, Sarah's heart was alight as she witnessed a small gathering surrounding Melissa, who seemed to have simmered down. Whatever malicious intent she had carried was diminishing in the rising shadows of kindness left after the chaos. It would take time, but they could work together to shape their path forward. With gratitude, Jake cast a quick look at Sarah before addressing the crowd. Thank you all for your kindness and patience today. It shows the alternative is possible. The love we have for our community makes all the difference." A renewed sense of purpose shone brightly in his eyes as he spoke, echoing what they both believed all along. The applause that followed was different this time, carrying with it respect and understanding. People were beginning to see Jake, not as a background character in their small-town narrative, but as a leading man with a story worth sharing, a story of resilience, grit, and unyielding love. Jake turned to Sarah and whispered, "Maybe we can build something beautiful out of all this." "Yes. Starting now," she said, sharing a radiant smile that lit up her face and felt electric between them. Together, they felt powerful. Side by side, they walked further into the crowd, hearts intertwined and courage fueled by unity. With every step, they left behind the shadows of misunderstanding, embracing a future painted with light and belonging. No longer simply a wheel-bound man and the girl facing scrutiny, they had become a couple tethered by mutual respect and the warmth of love, distinct in a town prepared to learn and grow. "Kick back, Melissa," Sarah whispered under her breath as they weaved through the laughter, feeling stronger than they ever had. Today was merely the first step together. They would show those who doubted that love conquers all. And as the warm light of the setting sun filled Maplewood with hope, Sarah felt a whisper in her heart: they were just getting started. All those who had rebuffed their story didn't know they were watching a transformation unfold, a monument to love's resilience amid doubt. Now it was time for them to take the next step, believing in themselves together, embracing true connection armed with their unfolding truth. But wait, this is the moment you need to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that unravel love and life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, make your voice heard. Comment and share your reactions to this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. True fans join together, showing support one subscription at a time.